Good evening. This is John. I'm here tonight to discuss my history with leadership and how my take on it is and what kind of information I've learned through our coursework so far. To begin with, I have a vast, expansive experience in leadership positions, having managed stores for over 20 years. Um, my first question I went with was discussing my most recent interview and the experience. The first question was, is the interviewer effective? And looking back at the interview I had conducted, it was a phone interview. My interviewer was incredibly effective. She didn't just ask simple yes or no questions. She asked questions that really got me to open up about my leadership experience and background, and took a lot of situational concepts and asked me to put them into practice based on what I've done in the past and how I would react moving forward. I think that's a fantastic approach to getting people to talk during an interview, because you're going to learn more about who they are with how they approach various scenarios. I think she was really well prepared and had some really well scripted questions that allowed her to dig into my thought processes. And I think that's a fantastic example of how to prepare for an interview. One of the things I would encourage her and any other interviewer to do, is a way to make it better, is make sure that you have a clear and concise understanding of the follow-up process and how it's going to fall, what kind of timeline you're going to be looking at to hear an answer, what kind of response you can expect. Will it be another phone call? Will it be an email? It's oftentimes one of the most stressful parts of the interview process is when the candidate doesn't know what's next or when to expect some type of feedback. And you can see in our textbooks that we've reviewed talk about following up. And I think it's really important for the interviewer to give a clear picture on when that follow up is expected and what shape it should take. The second leadership question I looked at was, have I ever worked with difficult people? With over 20 years experience in leading people, I assure you I've dealt with numerous difficult people. And each one of them has a little bit different way you have to respond. And I know over the course of my career, I learned a lot of ways to respond that where I would do much better now than I did when I first was faced with the situation. Thinking about it, when you work with high performing professionals, those are often going to be the most difficult people, because they've gotten success by being confident, by having a clear understanding of what they want to accomplish. And as a leader, what you have to do is take the things where the accomplishments weren't as strong as we needed and learn to shape those in ways that get your point across without making the person that you're giving the feedback to feel attacked and become defensive. I read a really interesting article in the Washington Psychological website, and it talked about different tactics you can use for approaching difficult to deal with people. And my favorite one on there by far was the use of I statements and doing everything you can to keep it from being an aggressive action. Instead of coming up and telling someone that your performance wasn't good enough, say, hey, I feel like this is an area where we could have done better. And following down that line of thought, I feel like one of the most important things we can do as leaders is learn to separate the personal from the professional, and really make it a deliberate habit to, when you're going to speak to someone about an area where performance wasn't good enough, make sure you attack the performance and not the person. I use sports as a great analogy for this. And as I'm here in Texas, I like to use the Dallas Cowboys because everybody knows them. And I talk about Dak Prescott, their current quarterback. And oftentimes I will liken a situation to him and say, he is a good quarterback. Again, the person you're talking to, they are a good, valuable part of the team. But occasionally he has a bad game. And when you approach a situation, when you're coming from a position of that, as a leader, you understand what they're capable of. And when their performance didn't meet that expectation, the way I like to approach it is, I know what you're able to do, and this wasn't it. So what I need you to do is really step up and give me everything you've got. And in the same way I use the Cowboys quarterback, I say he is a good quarterback who had a bad game. And then you're not making it a personal attack about them. You're making it where you're strictly discussing the outcome of the performance they gave. And the other thing I like to do is I like to really focus on looking for those foundational blocks that I can build on. What do they do well? Complement the things that they do well, the things you want to see more growth in, and use those to highlight the point of this is something that's done well, but we can build on and do better going forward. And I think that's an important part of feedback and the way we answer leadership is to talk about the ways that we can all continue to grow, because management's task-oriented, leadership is people-oriented. The best leaders are the ones who are constantly challenging their team to develop. And the best leaders are the ones who are constantly challenging themselves to develop. So you want to keep moving forward, keep working on professional and personal growth, and keep working towards being a better leader tomorrow than you were today. If you keep putting all of your efforts into improving yourself and improving your team, your results cannot help but get better over time. I thank you very much for the time and look forward to hearing all of your feedback.